Hi everyone, this is Stacy Hall, and I am thrilled to have with me today MargoMasri, and you're going to find out why I'm so thrilled in just a moment. But I deliberately sought out somebody who could help us, solopreneurs and small business owners, to be able to tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong if we think we can do our taxes, our bookkeeping, and our accounting ourselves. And the reason being is I don't do it this way anymore. I have somebody who helps me. But I know so many people in network marketing, they're trying to nickel and dime everywhere they can, save things, save money, and only outsource what they consider to be absolutely essential, like product or social media. And so they're doing their own bookkeeping. And you know what they say about a doctor having himself as a patient? I think that Margo would say the same thing about somebody who's trying to do their own books, unless they're a trained financial expert. So I want to tell you a little bit about Margo. As I said, I went looking for somebody who could teach us about this because I want my team members and my clients to have the best information possible out there. And so Margo and I have been talking about this for a number of months now. I've gotten to know her as a friend, and I know that she cares very, very, very deeply about her clients and about people understanding that, yes, financial statistics can be overwhelming for a lot of people. But there are certain statistics that are important to watch, and there are certain activities that are important to outsource, and she's going to tell us why. So she's been a well-known professional in the bookkeeping, accounting, and CFO area. So she works with a lot of chief financial officers of organizations. And I am going to read what I wrote. Margo gave me some information, but then I added to it. So I'm just going to look over here and read you a bit so that I'm making sure you know how fabulous she is. She began her Margo's bookkeeping services in 2003 because she wanted to help clients reach their personal and their professional financial goals. You know, that's what all of us who are in business for ourselves, that's what's top of mind. Yes, we say we want to be of service to people. Of course we do. That's why we went out on our own. Where we were working before, they weren't taking people into consideration the way we did. But really, it's about having the money to be able to sustain our ability to be of service. So this is where Margo really excels. And bear with me one moment. My screen just jumped. There we go. She says she chose to open her business because she witnessed many of her clients struggling. You know what? I'm just going to go full screen here so that way I don't have to mess with this. Okay, so she witnessed her clients struggling because they could not understand the complicated accounting jargon, and she has the ability and maintains her expertise in organizing and maintaining the finances of the everyday needs of any business or organization. Her consistency and her reliability, along with her accounting knowledge, has helped her business grow tremendously. She now has over a decade of experience, and she understands the power of numbers and wants to be able to convey this to her clients and to us today so we can plan and grow financially to sustain our ability to be of service. And Margo, it is a joy to have you here with me.
I am so excited for this opportunity, Stacy. We've been talking about this for way too long. I really feel honored that you and I met. I feel honored that I'm probably going to shed a tear because outside of our business relationship, I've grown to really, you know, just probably stalk you on the internet because I love everything. So, you know, I really appreciate this, and I'm excited to be here today and share how and help everybody as much as I can.
That's why we're here, is to be able to help people who have broken through their money conversations. You know, in the coaching industry that I am, that's what most of us coaches do. In order to help people be successful, we have to help change their relationship to money. But once they change it and money starts coming in, you know, it's one thing if you have no money. But when you start embracing it and having it, then how do you make it go where it needs to go so it performs well for us? So I'm going to start with the first question I prepared for you. And I'm sure you've heard the joke that no one enjoys paying taxes, right? No one does, and it's not really a joke. Except I happen to know that from all the interviews I've done and the people I hang out with who also have money, that they actually don't resent paying taxes, and they don't think it's a joke, because being able to pay taxes means we've made a lot of money. So they tend to focus on how much money they've made. Yes, how much can they keep, right? But they don't necessarily mind paying taxes as long as they're paying their fair share. So is there anything you can share with us about how to avoid paying more than your fair share of taxes?
So I'm going to share a quote, and it goes, "Anyone may arrange his affairs so that his taxes shall be as low as possible. He is not bound to choose that pattern which best pays the treasury. There is not even a patriotic duty to increase one's taxes." And the quote actually continues. So no matter who you are, you should do everything in your power to make sure that you pay the least amount possible that you qualify.
We like that. Say that again.
You want to do everything in your power to make sure you pay the least amount possible, but that you qualify for it. So this brings to mind a story. A friend of mine, I've been doing her accounting for 10 years. And unfortunately, she came down with a thyroid issue. And she came to me and she said, "Margo, I think this year I have to do it myself because I need that money to go towards my medical bills." And I said to her, "Okay, but instead, when you do it yourself, can you show it to me and only pay me half?" And she said, "Okay, so that seems fair." So she went back, she did her thing, and once she had her time and when she reviewed the books, she came to me. I did my part. And what happened, we found her over $1,800 worth of extra expenses that she can deduct. Now you can imagine, just forget about even over $1,800, just $1,800 alone, how much money that is, but also somebody who has a medical condition. So the savings that we saved her way surpassed what she would have just paid from the get-go.
Yeah.
If she didn't do any of that work.
That's amazing. Listen, I'm just going to take one quick moment and just say that we've got a little feedback coming in through the line. So I'm double check that everything's off at my end. Just you don't have anything going on at your end, right?
Okay.
Okay, good, because I want everybody to hear what we're about to talk about here. Do you have any advice of how we can keep financing costs as low as possible? And let me explain what I mean. Oftentimes, as I said at the start of this interview, what people in small businesses think about is making sure they have money for the product they need to be able to buy in order to be able to demonstrate and or sell. And they don't understand about various ways to finance, that it doesn't always have to be paid straight out, or maybe it does in some cases. So can you talk to us about on the front end, or when things are tight, when is a good time to get financing and when is it not?
Great question. So I had this client of mine. She was looking to buy a car. And she said, before she went into the dealership, she said, "Margo, do you think I should buy or should I lease?" And I said to her, "What do you prefer?" And she goes, "I'm not sure what I can afford." So I said to her, just go in and, talk. So she went to the dealership, she spoke to them, and she was so excited. Her heart really sounded like she wanted to buy. But she came back and she goes, "Margo, I think I'm going to lease." So I said to her, "Did they tell you the value of the car? Did they tell you what happens at the end of the lease? And she said, no, what happens at the end of the lease? So I said, there's potential for certain costs to go in at the end of the lease. So I sent her back with a bunch of questions. And with those questions, she came back and then she said she was just shocked with the answers. She was just floored. And she was like, wow. Ends up with reviewing the value of the car because she knew now. She said, I need to know the value of the car. If you don't know the value, what happens? They're going to send it at the end of the lease. So it seemed cheaper for her monthly, but it really wasn't. It was just shifting the bill. So to answer the question is, as things go on, you need to do the research because you don't know what that later is going to bring. So in her case, she ended up saving, it was almost about $5,000.
Wow.
By changing the method on how she was buying. She didn't know the proper questions. So speaking with her professional, she was able to talk about the different financing options that helped her. So understanding in the network marketing industry, you know, timing is everything, but also being aware that if you need the money now, but it's just being mindful and being aware of what may happen later, if that really is the best solution. It's not just about today, it's about the whole situation, because that day later could come faster than we imagine.
All right, thank you. That's a great question. Now, the one that I've been waiting to ask you, I didn't want to start right out with it, but this is one that's very near and dear to my heart, came from my heart actually, and my own personal experience. When I started out on my own years and years ago as a coach, I was single and I had money in the bank. I left my job. I always say my last job was my first client. And then I branched out on my own and I was doing my own bookkeeping and accounting. How hard could it be, right? I take in money, I put expenses, I have a spreadsheet, I got the whole thing, and I submit my taxes and I get audited. I can tell you that because I kept every receipt, and I had it all organized, I walked in, my auditor said, okay, I want to ask you about this expense. I went into my little file folder, I pulled out the receipt, yes. He's like, okay, you've got the receipt, fine. Then second question, third question, by the fourth question, he looked at me and he said, is this the way you're going to be through the whole thing, that you've got receipts for all of this? I said, yeah. He said, good. All right, go. I've got other people. It's not big enough. Not big enough to deal with. However, later on in life, once I was married and Bill's a realtor and I'm a leader in a network marketing company, the monies were big enough. And we've been audited as well during a time when Bill decided to do his own. We'll just tell on him, he won't be happy about that. And we did wind up getting penalized. So now we get expert advice. I bet there's a lot of people still doing it themselves and wondering what will cause an audit. So any suggestions about how to avoid an audit if you're really going to be stubborn and do it yourself, or why is it more likely you won't be audited if you use a professional, if that's even true?
So if you pull information from the air and you just create expenses, then you need to worry if you're going to get audited. But if you have your receipts and you document everything, document, you're going to be okay. But what happens if you don't know certain expenses that you can deduct? So what happens if that one receipt is what they ask for in the audit? So it all goes south from there. So my second story is actually what you shared was a friend of mine, she got audited and she was expecting to pay to the tune of $40,000 taxes. because we had everything documented for her, going through the process, the IRS made a mistake and she got back $8,000. Now, you can have a case where you get audited and the fee was, in this case, there was another case I wanted to talk about here where it was $421. And what happened? The IRS owed him $4,000. So you really never know what's going to be. But when you're working with a professional, they have the information to help you. So for instance, if you're going to LA for fun, but you're picking up contacts, we can help you transfer that trip into a business expense and document, so that you don't have that issue to worry about. But if you pull information from the air and just do things so that you pay less taxes, that's when you have to worry. And that's what people fall into the trap of doing.
Right. And I do want to be clear, we didn't pull things out of the air, kind of defending myself here, but in our particular case, it was not knowing what was the amount that could be deducted appropriately. You know, using one of those online services, but it didn't calculate correctly, and that's what happened. So, you know, we're paying our fair share, and we went in, and you know, we were compliant and continue to be. But I'm going to say that that's why I wanted to talk with you, because you can use online services all day long, but they're not necessarily going to be giving you the correct information, nor may you be interpreting the information correctly, and only a professional can do that.
Right, so this is where something like tax planning helps, because when you're proactive and you sit with someone to talk about it, tax planning and take into account your goals, you're able to accomplish a lot. You'd be surprised how much more you can accomplish and get out of that.
Can you say more about tax planning?
So tax planning is when you, let's say, would sit down with myself or another tax professional and be able to really review the situation at hand. So I'll give you an example. A friend of mine last week, he came to me and he wanted to know if it was worth it for him at the time to open up an LLC. That standalone situation wasn't enough for him. Once we started talking, he needed way more than an LLC. We put into account his whole solutions, everything that was going on with him, and he was able to literally visual what was going to happen for him over the next year, so that where he was spending the money, he was able to know in a proactive sense and not retroactive. Proactive,
not retroactive.
Yeah, that's one of my key mottos, is being proactive and not retroactive.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you, back to that audit question, how common is it to be audited by the IRS when you do your taxes yourself? Are there any statistics on that?
So I actually don't have the statistics with me, but for the most part, I would say, you know, I would say it's not common, but when it's common, when it does happen, you know, it's a blow up that you don't want to, you want to avoid. I would say it's more of a non-common thing.
It's not as common to be audited by the IRS when you do yourself.
It's not as common because you're doing it yourself, no.
I don't think I understand completely. In other words, it isn't more common. You don't think that it's more common to be audited if you're doing them yourself?
Correct. Right.
Okay.
I don't think it's more common.
Okay. So when someone chooses to do their taxes themselves, how much do you feel they're actually saving, if they're saving anything at all? Because you've just given us these stories of where people thought they were going to save, and then you come in and show what more they could be deducting and actually get even more money back. But I don't even know whether it's possible for you to give us an average, or how often you see that you're able to save more money than somebody was able to by doing it themselves.
So let's say if you go into TurboTax TurboTax, you can do it yourself and it's free even. But what happens? It's not a live person. It's an interview. So what you put in is what you get out of it. So what you miss, you will never know unless you have a professional with you. So on average, at least 20 to 25% somebody will save by doing it with a professional versus doing it themselves. I personally use TurboTax for my business. You also have to have a extra add-on for the program to be able to do it for your business. It's not part of that free version. So some people, once that comes up, they're like, oh, I don't want to pay, and all sorts of, stuff like that. But for me, it works because I know tax. So let's say, for example, in the marketing industry, and I would go to someone for advice, they would look to help me in my industry with what works and what doesn't work. So something like in accounting, it will work to do it yourself for something of the basic of the well-known stuff that people know, but stuff that's not the known deductions about your retirement and the bigger assets that you might have, or not even, just stuff that's not the common norm, you will lose out on that. And I've seen an average at least 20% that people save by doing it with someone versus doing it themselves.
Which in most cases more than covers the amount paid to the professional. Absolutely.
And they save the time, they save the money and the time, the emotions that all came with that, which usually alone I see is more so than just paying the money.
Can you say more about the emotions? What do you mean? What do you see in terms of emotions?
How it pulls people apart when it does themselves, because it becomes like this head-mind game that's never ending. And that's part of the jargon of really why I opened up MBS, because I see people stuck in it. And I was stuck in it myself too. And once I saw that, I said to myself, I can't imagine how many more people out there have that. And it's a horrible feeling. And once I see that in someone, I literally, it touches inside from a different, I'm sorry if I cry, it touches a different note, because, in your own head, it's not a safe place for this.
Wow.
You want to put your specialty, sorry.
No, don't apologize ever for being passionate and caring.
Yeah. Put your passion to what you do, and the people who help, the people who know what they're doing. Just like the marketing, you would want someone to come to you. With accounting, there's lots of information how they can help you, and it just saves all those emotions beyond.
Thank you. See, now you know why I wanted you to hear from Margo. She gets it. She's the yin and the yang, the introvert, extrovert, the soft, the strong, okay? And she's got it all going on. She understands what a solopreneur or small business owner is really dealing with, in addition to she works with some very large clients. So I don't want to exclude. If you've also got a very large business, she can help you as well. She works with a lot of CFOs. So we were talking before this call, and you were telling me other stories, and where erroneous bookkeeping led to thousands of dollars of loss in various ways. And so do you want to share any of those with us here?
Sure. So I find there comes a time when people need financing. I find there comes a time where they might need a loan. They might want to sell the business. They might need a partner. There's all sorts of reasons that you need evaluation. So all those years of the erroneous bookkeeping, you have to realize it's a pile up of financial information that's not clear, and that it may not be correct. It may be. You may be a great accountant doing it yourself, but accountant in practice doing it yourself while running another business. But what I've personally seen, that what happens is that the mistakes go back so many years that someone will come for like 2 years worth of that bookkeeping, but I've gone back as much as 5 or even 10. So I have this friend in the medical field. He was so excited. He got a valuation for 14 million. Now your first instinct is like, that's great, right? But something said to him as a business owner, he had this inside him, and he's like, it doesn't seem right. And the average person is like, yay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened? And he said, I think I need to do bookkeeping. It took almost a year to clean this up and to get it ready. But once we were done with the books and a combination of all sorts of things with the paperwork, he ended up having the valuation of 27 million.
Oh my goodness. Well, like, what was he not taking into consideration?
Lots of things, lots and lots and lots of things.
Yeah,
and
can you give us an idea?
It was a big thing, like what we talked about before, the financing sector, how he was doing the, taking care of like his big assets, even like everyday expenses, Stacey, like travel, meals, even like the small stuff every single day. They did simple things like mix up business and personal expenses, which is a big. No?
I'm saying that's a big no-no, right? Mixing business with personal.
That's a huge no-no. And for references, everybody on my website, I have a great article on mixing business and personal. It's a huge no-no. So that was one of the big things with him. We dug deep. There was some financing that he got. He paid back, so it was that whole back and forth of the loan as well. Stuff sitting on the balance sheet, which is assets and his liabilities, what he owns, that should have sat on the P&L. So he had quite a bit of circles to get through. So in his case, he basically doubled his valuation. But putting that aside for a minute, the possibilities that came from that changed his life.
Wow.
He got that valuation, and it just spoke for himself, the opportunities that he can get.
And such as, and give us, I can have an idea, but when you say the opportunities he can get, what?
He wanted to retire.
Oh, and he was able to do it sooner?
He was able
when you say the valuation, so did he sell the business and he was able to sell it for that? Okay.
Sell the business.
Okay, so it wasn't just theoretical valuation. It was an actual tangible, real valuation, and he was able to retire much faster than he expected to. That's pretty fabulous.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah.
I was really excited for him.
Very, very cool. All right, so that story reminds me of what you were saying earlier about emotions. Like how does somebody forget to value half their business? Well, maybe they didn't know they could, and maybe some of it is just, as you said, emotionally not wanting to look at various aspects of their business. When people need to clear up clutter in their homes, which I help with a lot, I don't do it. I help them get into the mindset to do it. The reason the clutter's there is they have a whole lot of chaotic thinking about it. And I would say the same was true there, that cleaning up the valuation, there was a lot of clutter in the way to get to what the truth was. How do you help your clients make good decisions? Because in a lot of ways, then, you are a coach. You're not just a numbers gal. You are really holding the hand and working through the mindset work as well. So how do you do that as a bookkeeper and an accountant?
So to go back a minute on what you're saying on the emotions, one of my sayings is being comfortable with the uncomfortable. So having lots of conversations with my client is really the key. They're my friends, believe it or not. I love them all, even my past ones, and people who I have through passings who I help all the time. That's the thing of what I start with. It's being comfortable with the uncomfortable. How do I help them? So it's a great question, depending on really how they work with us. But in the CFO capabilities, it happens to really just have an umbrella on taking that all into account by working together with them I'm really helping them through those steps.
And a solopreneur or small business person who is just recently trying to move through their money stuff, and maybe it's the first time they're going to work with a tax professional and it's going to be you, how would you help them with clear away the emotional stuff so that they could just focus on the tangible?
Well, we're fully available. Anyone who's part of my company, we're accessible, myself and my team, at any time. So that's not something that's necessarily separate or an addition. It's something that's built in. It's taking care of the client. That for us is just, it's number one. It's also built into the process that they know everything what goes on. We're a big candidate for creating a workflow and having them involved in it. So chances are where they're at, when we talk about that in the onboard sector, we know that those are the types of things that they would need. So it's building that into the process for them.
Oh, fabulous. So no surprises up front or in the middle or at the end.
So as long as the client keeps us in the loop, if things change, there's no surprises.
Yeah, that would be a key factor, I would say. Yes, keeping you in the loop. All right, so those were all the questions I wanted to ask you, and I thank you for being so willing to be patient with me. And as some of those questions were compiled from things that other people said they wanted to know about. Margo, what do you think is important? What did I not ask you about that is essential for people to know, or what do you have available? You had said to me you were going to put some sort of a gift together for people who watched this program. So the rest of the time is yours. What do you want us to know?
So I'm available as a resource to anybody listening today. I'm happy to help you. One of the last sentence I want to leave everyone with is excellent decisions come from good financial information. You can't get excellent decisions without good financial information. So with that being said, I shared below a PDF where it's 10 tips as entrepreneurs that I felt were important to help you. In addition, I'm offering for the first 20 callers a free 30-minute session of a deep dive in addition to the PDF. I want everyone to have both. This year, I dedicated myself to helping as many as I've been, but I want to help more entrepreneurs where I know I've been, and help them get over that hump to where they want to be. If they have a coach, I'm more than glorified to work with them. But with those two things, I want you to enjoy them and use them, and please feel free to ask any questions, and I can't wait to hear from any of you.
Okay, so just to recap, you have an ebook or a PDF document that's going to, what's the benefit for getting that? What are you going to teach people through that?
It's the key 10 things that I felt as a business owner, every entrepreneur should have.
Okay, and then you offered to 20 people, the first 20 people who contact you directly. Mm-hmm. What are you offering to them?
A deep dive consult to help them through where they're at in their accounting.
Okay, so what do they need to be prepared if they're going to have that conversation? What do they need to have prepared to bring to the conversation? In other words, they may not know what a deep dive is. So can you give us a little more detail on that?
So a deep dive is usually talking about their goals. It's talking about where they think their issues are in accounting. It's good to know your sales numbers. It's good to know where you want to be, stuff like that. If they have a specific goal or a specific issue, even better. And if it goes a little bit over, it's no problem. Any supporting information is always helpful. But usually between the goals and asking them some questions, most business owners are, they usually know how to, take care of the phone call.
And at the end of that conversation, what will they walk away with? What will they know that they don't know now? Or is it primarily a sales opportunity for you? I don't mean that to be obnoxious, but so that they understand. I'm sure these are questions in people's minds too. Why would this be a really valuable benefit for somebody to get that consultation with you?
Great question. I'm looking to point out for them at least 2 key things on what they're not doing and what they should be doing. At least 2 factors.
Okay, so it really is. It's a free consultation, no obligation.
No obligation. If they want to come on board after, that's totally fine. And if they're not and I've helped them, then I'm more than happy with that as well. I just want them today to know that where they're at, that there is a solution and there's somebody there that can help them.
Fabulous. So your website is, if people want to learn more about you?
Please watch us and follow us at www.margosbookkeeping.com.
MargosBookkeeping.com. Okay.
O-K-E.
Yes, O-K-E. Because it looks strange when you type it all out, but it is MargosBookkeeping.com.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else before we wrap up?
No, thank you today. This was so much fun.
Well, the thank you is to you, because you could have been using this time to be working on a client's books, and you took it to be able to help us understand what's possible if we decide to stop being the people who have to do it all ourselves, especially in the area of the money, which is so important. Give it to somebody who is an expert and can help you make more money. Like Margot said, she had a client, 14 million is what he thought he was worth. Turned out he was actually worth 27 million. And I'm sure you didn't take hardly any part of that for your fee, but it was worth all of that. All right, I'm Stacy Hall, and it is always my pleasure to help entrepreneurs and other people who feel like they are stressed to the snapping point. Money is one of those stressors that really stresses people to the snapping point. And I provide all sorts of free tips at my website, which is chi-to-be.com, chi2b.com. And I'll put that information along with the access to Margot's free ebook and how to contact her. I'll be putting that in the comments section related to this video session. So be sure to read the comments below. And it has been a joy to have you writing the Chi with me and Margot today. Bye, everyone. Happy Money Days.
Bye.